Good morning, Claire here in the Pacific Northwest Puget Sound area, Grow Zone 8B. This has been a phenomenal growing year, and as it is, mid to late fall before we head into winter, I wanted to highlight some experiments that I have done this year and show you what they were, how they turned out, what I would do differently if I'm going to do them again. So come along with me and I will highlight that for you guys.
One of my absolute favorite and biggest and laborious experiments of this year was sort of done not because I had planned it or had wanted to, but out of necessity because I had these hay bales from an experiment from last year, a hay bale straw bale garden, and they were so waterlogged from all the rain from the winter that I could not move, pick up, get it over to the truck to take to the compost place at the dump. So I had to sort of develop a make do and mend kind of plan with the garden because I wanted to make a row garden in this space. And what I ended up having to do was just tear up all of the straw bales, and they had already been able to decompose quite a bit from the year before. So there was a lot of really good organic matter in there and fertilizer and such from that. And I just sort of did a, modernized Ruth Stout kind of method of the no work garden inadvertently by putting down some cardboard and then just ladling all the straw onto it so that then I could put the dirt on top of it. And then I just put organic dirt in lines all the way back to the very end. And then I had one spot back there that I'll show later, but I made like more of a long plot back there. But so I did 3 rows of dirt. And then I just filled in the middle with wood chips because it was very springy when I first did all this. It was very buoyant. Felt like you were going to wear those like moon shoes from back in the day, and just made myself some nice pathways. And it worked out great. And then I got to planting, and this was the huge exercise of patience for me because I just am always so doubtful that anything will grow, but it beyond surpassed my expectations of what was possible. My plan for this area was to have a cut flower garden, so I planted foxgloves and bells of Ireland and 5 different varieties of cosmos and sunflowers and yarrow, and I planted zinnias. They did not perform for me this year, but I also planted some dahlias from seed as well as some that I had bought from the grocery store. And literally everything showed up and showed out. And this is not even at the peak of its beauty that I'm showing you here, but this is when I was so excited because it just kind of happened at this point overnight, or felt overnight, but it had been so many months in the making. This was, I put the straw and the dirt in about March and got finished with that project then, planted in April, and this is about June, July time when these cosmos were looking so beautiful. And here are some of the dahlias that I had grown from seed, these white ones and the pink ones here. And this was just the beginning. I thought this was amazing, but they just kept bushing up and getting bigger and bigger, and just more flowers just kept going. I thought it would never end. So if you ever have the opportunity to grow dahlias from seed, do it, because you never know what you're going to get. And they're going to be more fabulous than you can imagine. And it's such a fun surprise. The sunflowers, they performed so well. I had, a mix of reds, and then I used some of the like teddy bear sunflowers and just a variety pack of things. And everything was so beautiful. Here's one of my favorite dahlias of the year, this pink, and I also grew this from seed. if I could recommend this growing style that I showed you with the sunflowers, here it is. This is the end of the garden. This is where it's kind of a little bit past its peak, but it just created me so many bouquets from just, about 10, 12 different varieties. It was magical. So I highly recommend the cardboard straw straight into the dirt kind of planting. So this method, thumbs up from me. The next thing, project experiment that I'm going to showcase and show you kind of how it turned out, and if I would do it again, what I would change, would be my $40 teepee. Teepee. This continues to be one of my continually watched videos when I check my analytics. And it just kind of showcases for me that other people are looking for kind of alternative ways to build or grow things. And so for this method, I just grabbed about, I think it was 12 pots from the Dollar Tree. I got a few bamboo poles, filled them up with dirt, and just connected them all with string. And this, while it was labeled, I think the video was called Build a PTP for under $40. This particular project ended up costing me about $8,000 because when I started this project, we did not have a puppy. And towards the end of this project being really at its peak, I did have a puppy, and she would go out there, and I thought she was just eating the peas off the bush. No, no, no. She decided she was going to eat the string. I thought she was just eating, but no, it was the string, and it wrapped around her tongue, went down into her intestines, was blocking her from being able to eat and drink and all that good stuff. So, emergency surgery for her, and a big hit on my pocketbook. So, if you have, dogs that are known to eat literally everything, do this somewhere safe. I ended up having to move it behind my other little fenced-in garden area. And, but that being said, this was great. It produced. If I had something to do over, and I might attempt this again next year, I would do more peas in each pot. I think I only put like 2 in each pot. I would literally load that thing up with like 6 or 7, 8 seeds per pot, because it did not quite fill out the way that I had hoped it would to make like an actual teepee like hiding place for the kids. But it was fun for them to be able to come out here and collect, ready to eat things like the purple ones. The purple ones were the very yummiest sugar snap peas. So highly recommend that for just a delicious treat. But if I were to do this again, like I said, I would put more peas in the pot. I would probably even put beans in there. I don't think I put beans in early enough to just have as much vining, branching stuff as possible. At the back of the row garden, I had one little plot that I had intended to use for a Three Sisters garden, where you are supposed to plant a corn, bean, and some type of squash, pumpkin in the same hole. And the idea behind it is that the corn is supposed to go up and create its stalk, produce its corn, but in the meantime, the bean is supposed to grow up and around the stalk of the corn so that it has the support. And then the pumpkin is supposed to branch out and to create sort of like a ground cover to hold in the moisture of the and the nutrients in the soil, so that the beans and the corn stay watered and moist and are just really healthy. And so, to my surprise, the corn, the beans, and the pumpkins, they sprouted up, and they continue to grow and to thrive alongside one another. And this is us during harvest time where the beans were just going crazy. We had been eating on the beans for a couple of months, and this is sort of the last little leg of them. But they did what they were supposed to do. It took a while for some of them made their way along the ground, but once they found a stalk, they made their way up and down and around and all over. So there was beans on the ground, beans on the stalks, beans on my fence. And then not only that, but the corn did in fact produce ears. And they were really beautiful because I planted the glass bead corn, and they were just so lovely to look at. I would say that we probably harvested over the season about maybe 20 ears of corn, which for such a small space, I think that that is an excellent amount. Here's Katana with her basket of beans and beautiful corn. And last but not least, here is some of our pumpkins that we harvested. They were so cute. I think, got from this space, I think we got about 5 mature pumpkins. And once again, I think that's really great for a small space, and seeing all of the plants coordinate together and do their job and fertilize and do as they should do. I think it was excellent. I am absolutely going to do Three Sisters again, and maybe on a larger scale next year, because I had so much fun with it and it really brought me so much delight. The next big garden project that I took on this year was this disaster garden area. I kind of had to put the border back together and clean up a lot of weeds out of this garden. It was a mess and a half. And I planted a lot of bulbs of gladiolas and some dahlia tubers. And once I got started, it just kind of spiraled because I was just going to make that one little area pretty. But I realized I had a lot of garden space in this area, so I kept it going. I decided to dig up all of the grass that I could get out of the ground, all the roots, everything, and to turn what had been my compost pile to the left and kind of merge it with this area to the right to make one big open grow space. And in the process, I was like, well, I should maybe amend the soil somehow. I don't know. I had cartons and cartons of eggs that were really well beyond the point of us eating them, but they weren't rotten either. And so I just decided to dump them in the ground, break them up, and to incorporate it into the ground. So this was kind of an experiment, and in some ways it really did pay off. My tomatoes that I ended up planting and making a tomato forest over here did, crazy good. And I think I owe it to the soil is really good. There was a lot of earthworms in there already, but I think it also had to do with the eggs. Now, one thing about that, though, is I feel like it did attract some garden pests, whether it was squirrels or raccoons. They dug up plants that I had planted in there at certain points, I think, to get to the eggs. So I will give that kind of little warning about this. But with that being said, once I did that, all I did was I took a bunch of wood chips and covered the area. I did not put any barrier down, weed barrier of any kind. I just hoped that the wood chips would be a barrier enough of itself so that I could go in and easily pick up any weeds that were to pop up. And then me and my husband put up another garden trellis here, and to be able to grow things up and over it. And funnily enough, some pumpkin seeds that had been from my compost pile that I guess my chickens did not eat did end up growing up over it. So that was kind of fun. And here is a view after we ended up having to put a fence around it because of my puppy, which made it very charming and cute. But here is the pumpkins doing great. And the tomatoes did phenomenal. They produced so much, and there's actually still some out there that, I keep thinking, oh, I've gotten them all. I've gotten them all. And so I've got to go out there and get even more off. And I loved this little tomato forest and just how lush and full everything was. I wish I had a more perfect picture of this garden area. The lettuce did amazing. There was just an amazing kind of microclimate over here to where things just kept producing. And it was exciting. It was exciting for me. It was exciting for my kids. So I'm going to definitely plant in this area again. I might reconfigure like where different things are planted, but I'm excited definitely for next year to see what happens now that I'm a little bit more experienced in these different spaces. And I'm sad to see the season end, but it was a beautiful one.
Thanks so much for sticking around with us to see what we've gotten into this year. I'm so thankful to have been able to share all the projects and experiments that I've had and that you guys have been here for it. So I am excited for the end of this grow season to have a little bit of a break and a rest, but I'm so excited already with big plans for next year. And with that being said, like I said, I'm ready for a little bit of a break, and it's bread season, cookie season, baking season. So come back and join me for some of that. So I'll see you guys later. Have a great day.